Welcome to Cupid's Logic, where love meets predictive intelligence. We decode attraction, conflict, attachment, and compatibility, so you can know if it will last before you commit.
Then Tuesday arrives. The dishes are still waiting. The message still goes unanswered. The same argument begins with the same opening line. And suddenly, that hopeful conversation from Sunday feels like it happened in another relationship. You both agreed to communicate better. You both wanted more quality time. Maybe one of you promised to stop disappearing during conflict. For a few hours there was relief, maybe even tenderness. But the words did not survive contact with ordinary life. If you know that feeling, welcome to Cupid's Logic. I am your host, Craig Pruitt. And today we are diving into a question that can tell you a great deal about the future of a relationship. What happens after the conversation ends? Are you ready for the truth? Trust is not built by what couples promise during a good conversation. It is built by what they consistently do after the conversation is over. Now, I want to be careful here. A missed promise does not automatically mean someone is dishonest, uncaring, or incompatible with you. People get sick. Work becomes overwhelming. Capacity changes. Sometimes the agreement was unrealistic from the beginning. What matters is not perfection. What matters is whether the two of you can turn insight into a realistic action, and then tell the truth when reality interrupts the plan. Imagine Maya and Jordan. They keep having the same Sunday night conversation. Jordan says, "I know I have been distant." Maya says, "I do not need a grand gesture. I need to know you will stay present when we are upset." Jordan agrees. The conversation ends with an apology and a hug. Then the next disagreement arrives. Jordan goes quiet, and Maya is left wondering whether the apology meant anything at all. The problem is not necessarily that Maya and Jordan disagree. Every couple disagrees. The problem is the space between what they understood and what they actually do. That space is where trust either grows or slowly leaks away. So rather than asking, "Did we have a meaningful conversation?" ask a harder question. What behavior should I be able to see afterward? Start with the agreement itself. Can both people describe what they promised in the same way? Communicate better sounds positive, but it is not yet a plan. Be more present. Help more. Make me feel appreciated. Those phrases may express a genuine need, but they leave too much room for mind reading. One person thinks, "I have been trying." The other thinks, "Nothing has changed." Then both feel misunderstood. Maya and Jordan could make their agreement observable. If the conflict gets heated, either person can ask for a 20-minute pause, but the pause includes a return time, not disappearing for the rest of the night, not leaving the other person to guess. Perhaps they agree to come back at 8 o'clock, or to send a message if 8 is no longer realistic. That is a small change, but it gives the relationship something solid to practice. The same principle applies everywhere. More quality time might become one device-free meal and one shared activity each week. Help more around the house might become clear ownership of meals, shopping, or laundry, including the planning nobody sees. A boundary might include exactly what happens when the boundary is crossed. Clarity does not remove romance. It protects the relationship from arguing about what the promise was supposed to mean. But even a clear agreement can fail for another reason. Nobody has really owned it. Couples often say, "We both need to work on this." That sounds fair. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it quietly makes one partner the project manager of the relationship. They notice the problem, bring it up, research solutions, suggest the plan, send the reminder, and then absorb the disappointment when the plan disappears. Shared intention is not the same as shared responsibility. If Jordan agrees to stay present during conflict, Jordan needs a behavior that belongs to Jordan, saying, "I am overwhelmed, I need a pause, and I will come back at 8. Maya has a responsibility too, perhaps allowing the pause without chasing or escalating. Each person owns what they can control. You cannot own your partner's feelings. You can own whether you listen, whether you return, and whether you speak honestly before resentment takes over. This matters even more before a major commitment. Moving in together, combining finances, marrying, or making long-term plans does not magically create partnership capacity. It usually makes existing patterns easier to see. If one person must repeatedly translate a need into instructions, remind the other person to care, and supervise every improvement, the issue is bigger than one unfinished task. Be honest with yourself. Are you building a partnership, or are you preparing to manage one?
Then look at consistency. One beautiful apology can be sincere. One great weekend can feel like a breakthrough. But trust is usually shaped by smaller repetitions. Does the check-in happen next week? Does the boundary hold when nobody is upset? Does the practical change continue when work is stressful and sleep is limited? That is where the forecast becomes more reliable. Not in the emotional spotlight, but on an ordinary Wednesday.
And consistency does not mean every day looks identical. Suppose Jordan agrees to return at 8, but a genuine crisis makes that impossible. Follow through can mean sending a message, I missed the time, I shut down, and I know that left you alone. I still want to repair this. Can we talk at 10? That is very different from silence, followed by irritation when Maya asks what happened.
This is why the response to a missed agreement may tell you more than the miss itself. Healthy accountability sounds like, I did not do what I said I would do, and I understand why that hurt you. Honest renegotiation sounds like, I agreed too quickly. This version is more than I can reliably offer. Here is what I can do, and here is when we can revisit it. Notice the difference. There is ownership, context, and a workable alternative.
Less healthy responses have a different texture. Why are you making such a big deal about this? You are impossible to please. I said I would do better. What more do you want? Sometimes the response is avoidance. The missed agreement is never discussed because raising it costs too much emotionally. Over time, the disappointed partner stops asking. That silence can look like peace. It may actually be resignation. When someone stops bringing you their disappointment, do not assume the disappointment is gone. There is a difference between avoidance and a real capacity problem. A person may be overwhelmed, living with a health challenge, or trying to meet an agreement that was simply too demanding. Compassion belongs in the forecast, but compassion should lead to a clearer conversation, not erase a repeated pattern. The useful question is not, did you fail once? It is, can we tell the truth when the plan stops working? And can we build a better plan together? If you want to explore this without turning your relationship into a laboratory, try a small collaborative experiment. Choose 2 or 3 weeks. Pick one emotional commitment, one practical commitment, and one connection commitment. Keep them small enough to observe. Maybe the emotional commitment is naming overwhelm instead of withdrawing. The practical one is owning a recurring task without reminders. The connection one is a scheduled conversation or 10 minutes of undistracted attention.
Before you begin, ask 4 simple questions. What exactly did we agree to? Who owns which action? When will it happen? And what will we do if one of us cannot keep it? You can write the answers down, but do not use them to catch your partner in a mistake. This is shared clarity, not surveillance. At the end, ask what you learned. Was the agreement realistic? Did both people understand it the same way? Did the behavior happen without repeated prompting? And when it did not, was there honesty, repair, and adjustment?
You are not looking for a perfect score. You are looking for information. Strong follow-through creates a favorable cycle. Clarity reduces confusion. Ownership reduces resentment. Consistent action creates emotional safety. And honest repair makes it safer to tell the truth next time. That is how trust becomes more than a feeling. It becomes a lived experience. I can bring you a concern, and together we can do something with it.
The opposite cycle is quieter, but it can be just as damaging. Promises create temporary relief. The behavior stays the same. The other partner starts reminding, testing, or monitoring. The other partner feels managed and becomes defensive. Both feel misunderstood. Emotional distance grows without one dramatic event. The relationship begins operating on history instead of hope, and every new agreement is judged against the unfinished agreements behind it.
So look at the pattern. Can both of you describe the agreement clearly? Does each person carry a real part of the action? Do small changes continue after the emotional conversation is over? And when something fails, do you get honesty and repair, or another performance of agreement? These questions do not tell you everything about a person. They do reveal something important about the relationship system you are creating together.
I can relate to wanting the next conversation to finally fix everything. Sometimes a powerful conversation really does begin a new pattern, but lasting change usually arrives more quietly. It shows up in the next action, then the next one, and then the next. Be honest with yourself, while also being fair to the context. Do not condemn a relationship over one missed promise. Do not dismiss a pattern because the words are moving. Watch what happens when ordinary life returns.
Here is the heart of today's conversation. Trust grows when agreements are clear, responsibilities are owned, actions become consistent, and missed commitments lead to honesty and repair. That is the follow-through forecast. Not perfection, not control. A way to see whether your relationship can convert understanding into behavior before disappointment becomes the permanent operating system.
If this episode gave you language for a pattern you have been feeling but could not quite name, visit cupidslogic.com. Explore the Prism compatibility engine and the broader tools for understanding communication, trust, emotional patterns, and long-term fit. You deserve to know whether a relationship has the capacity to grow, repair, and follow through. Thanks for listening to Cupid's Logic. Remember, you're not bad at relationships. You've been flying blind.
This has been Cupid's Logic. Stop flying blind in love. Visit cupidslogic.com and let the Prism engine reveal what your relationship data already knows.